everyone.
Hi. I have an itchy ear. Hold on. Okay. I had hair in my ear holes. Hello.
That's not good. Hello.
You don't want that.
You don't want that. Gross. Now I'm thinking, why did I immediately go to thinking about belly buttons and the Q-tips? Because I was thinking about Q-tips in the ears. Now I'm just revisiting a previous conversation we've had. This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
2 girls, 1 ghost. And we are your ghostesses. That is Corinne and I am Sabrina.
Hello.
And this is an encounters episode where, we took a couple weeks of like a little bit of a reprieve. And now we're revisiting the month of October because, as many of you know, if you don't, go back and listen to the October episodes and get haunted with us. But we experienced quite a few hauntings.
We made an oopsie.
We made an oopsie. But it was, looking back, we survived, which is really good. And I think
and I may have overreacted to my candle.
No, it was unsettling.
But it was really scary in the moment.
Because it was combined with other things happening at the same time.
Right. It was just a series of events that made us realize we truly were not alone. Our joke about Sven being our resident podcast ghost. Yeah, Sven might be around, but something else was in the month of October too.
Yes. And a lot of you, our listeners, also had experiences during the month of October. And so this Encounters episode is focusing on those stories that you all sent to us. And there are so many more than we're going to read today, whenever you're listening. And so if we don't read yours, we have it in a folder. We're creating a folder called We Are Haunted, and we're putting all of them in there. And we're going to revisit the fact that we're the most haunted podcast in America another time as well.
So if something's happened to you, email us. Just make sure the subject line is clear that you've been haunted by the podcast ghost so that we can snag it, file it away.
Put it in the folder. Yes.
Sabrina. I can go first. Since Leia's requesting pets, let's keep her happy and not screaming right now. And I will read. Let me just put down my tea.
The 2-hand pet.
Oh, the classic 2-hand pet. Miss Leia. So cute.
It's Leia.
Miss Leia.
Want to say hi to the fans?
Alrighty.
Oh.
Okay, this email is called Sven Haunts My Radio.
Oh.
Hello, ladies. I'm a longtime listener, but stopped for a while and am working my way back up to the present episodes. Right now, I'm on Encounters 122, the episode where you read all of the listener encounters that relate to your podcast, and hearing so many made me decide to share my own. And also, I just want to know that we were sent this from someone who didn't listen to the most recent episodes in October, but was listening in the month of October and sent us this email on Halloween. So I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So it started happening about a month and a half ago. I'll be listening to your podcast in my car, usually during my work commute and while running errands. And the audio will always start to skip. Not in the way that gets kind of stuck and repeats a few times, but as if someone is holding down the button to skip through. I've tried to skip the opposite way when this happens to keep my spot, but no matter what, I have to let it ride out, or sometimes I just turn off the radio altogether. So basically, it's like when you click the fast forward 15 seconds or whatever.
Jeez.
It has skipped up to 15 minutes of the podcast at a time. And the only way that I found out... I love the idea that there's another ghost present that's just like, this podcast is just too scary. Let's skip this story.
or it's like the way that some people don't like our banter. It's a ghost who's like, let's skip to the stories.
Yeah, I don't care about you. Let's get to the ghost stories. It has skipped up to 15 minutes of the podcast at a time. And the only ways that I've found that can make it stop is to pause the audio, change the radio setting off of Bluetooth for a few seconds, and then turn it back. This only happens when I'm listening to your podcast in my car. I listen occasionally on the TVs in my apartment, and nothing ever happens then. But most mornings, if I listen long enough in the car, it will start to skip. Other things that happen when I play your podcast in my car include various menus that will get pulled up, like the speaker control panel on the radio's main menu. It's never anything too unsettling, But when you're driving through Savannah at midnight and things start glitching, I think it's reasonable to get a bit jumpy. I've attached a video of it doing it just this week. Thank you for telling us ghost stories every week and keep up the great work, Joyce. We'll insert it into the YouTube clip
good idea.
as well, but I'll just play it for you, Sabrina, right now.
Thank you.
So I like the hallway closet, been extra lame home from a late and as soon as he wall as it went walls too, learned that was not right. But then I could describe the sound off as just a weird room on my laptop out of bed and his side still at me. Freaked.
It literally just keeps skipping. It's like so quick too. It's like skip. Okay, you say 5 more words, skip. 5 more words, skip.
It's also just so interesting because people who send us
Joyce has a ghost in her car.
Well, that is very interesting. But it only happens to our podcast. And we've had countless people send us similar encounters where they're like, but the second I put on a different podcast, it stops. Or like someone recently commented on one of our Instagrams and was like, hey, I think they were in Europe somewhere. And they're like, I'm trying to listen to your podcast, but it only works if I use a like United States VPN. And it only was affecting our
weird
podcast. And I was just like,
what the heck?
What the heck, European spirits?
It's such a catch-22 because oftentimes the spiritual interference with our podcast does prevent people from actually getting to listen, which is a negative for us as podcasters. We want people to listen. But then also it's the catch-22 because then it's like, oh, but then also the spirits are helping. They're like, you guys always talk about guerrilla marketing. This is guerrilla marketing. Like we are creating a buzz about it being haunted. And people are like, just wanted to listen to an episode.
Or our spirits are trying to help prevent, I don't know. I feel like either they're giving messages to our listeners or they're trying to prevent them from being haunted. And if they listen to certain things, maybe it will scare them. We recently had a listener who was a longtime listener. Truly, like I recognized her name. We've had her on Campfire Stories before, and I won't out her because I don't want to, but she emailed us recently and was like, I have to say goodbye. Like you've been my longtime friends, but I've just started having really terrible experiences and I had like a pit in my stomach and like a bad feeling and I just had to stop listening to your podcast. And it breaks my heart.
It does. We need to do a better job. This is going to be a 2023 goal of ours, Sabrina. We need to do a better job at cleansing our spaces ahead of time and maybe helping our listeners also. I don't know if there's like something we can do that like comes through the audio to help listeners to not be so haunted.
If we set intentions before every episode, maybe that's a good idea. And we verbalize it out loud on the podcast. Like that's the beginning of our episodes now. That possibly helps set clear intentions for our listeners as well.
Yeah. But then also the dark side of me is like, well, it's kind of fun to have some things happen. I want the benign hauntings. I don't want the really, really bad ones.
The evil side of
For the most part, we haven't had evil. I think it's just, we've been lucky in that the spaces that we currently reside in don't have really negative presences. And so talking about this stuff all the time is not contributing to that. Whereas as I say that, there's like multiple flies that suddenly are like coming on my window. Spooky. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. I will read this story and it's from Anonymous. They prefer not to have their name read aloud.
Okay.
But it is called, Did a Demon from Encounters 151 Visit Me? Hello. Longtime listener, first time emailer. Let me preface this by saying my husband and I have lived in our home since March of 2020, and I have never had any weird or dark feelings here. I still don't, but something weird happened after Encounters 151. It might be nothing, but what the fuck? And if you're reading this way after the recording of 151, it is right when Corinne had the weird shit happen with her candles. Another thing to note is that my son's baby monitor that stays on my nightstand through the night has a light in the corner of it It flashes green when there's a soft noise happening, like my son tossing in his sleep or lightly bumping his leg on the crib railings. And it flashes red when there's a loud noise, like him waking up and whining, ready to get out of bed, or his big-ass head banging against the headboard of his crib while he's tossing around. Just trying to give you an idea of what kind of noise there needs to be for it to flash red.
Okay.
Also, I need to like take the headphones off of one ear because when these are on both of my ears and I can't hear anything else in my surroundings, I get too scared.
Mm-hmm. What the fuck was that?
It was Leia.
What the hell? That was the best and worst timing. Like, because I don't know how it sounded on the actual recording, but through my headphones, it was like, it was like this possessed lamb. Oh, man.
My favorite is because she's so vocal that sometimes when, like, she just meows. Like, I don't even know if she knows she's doing it, but sometimes it comes out kind of scratchy, or like as she's yawning, like at the end of her yawn, something comes out. She's just.
Well, she lives in California. It's her vocal fry. I say with vocal fry at the end of my sentence.
Honestly, whatever. Okay.
Whatever.
So I was cooking dinner while watching the YouTube video of this episode, Encounters 151. It was around 5:30 or 6 p.m. That night, around 10:30 or 11 p.m., something odd happened. I wasn't in a deep sleep yet. I had only been asleep for maybe 20 minutes at that point. But what woke me up from my light sleep was Corinne from this episode, as if I was dreaming about it. She was even wearing the same beige-colored top she had on in the video that I had watched a couple hours earlier. The apartment background was all there, along with the spooky candles. It was like I was dreaming the exact episode I had just watched. She didn't speak, but there was a loud siren sound that came from her. Not like a creepy sound or demonic, just something loud enough that it startled me awake. At the time
that came out of me, like I just dropped my jaw and I'm like, like what the? Ew!
Yeah.
Ew, this is so creepy. No.
At the same time that I got startled awake, my son's monitor was flashing red, but I couldn't hear any sound. I had his monitor face down because I can't sleep with the bright light in my face. So I put it upright so I could check on him and see if he was okay. He wasn't moving. He was sound asleep in the corner of his crib, away from the headboard part that usually gives off a loud noise if he bumps into it. Now, as a first-time mom, I check on him constantly throughout the night to make sure he's still breathing, even at 19 months old. So I was watching the monitor for a few seconds, like I always do. And through his crib railings, I saw 4 little legs walking in his room.
What?
We have to be mindful when... Yeah.
I'm just trying to visualize it. Okay, so you're looking at the monitor and there's the railing to the bed. Where are the legs?
I think so, because I think that the monitor's probably here, and through the railings, there, you could see 4 little legs.
Oh, okay. So gross.
We have to be mindful when shutting his bedroom door because if we aren't, the doorknob won't latch. So my first thought was we didn't latch the door and our orange cat managed to sneak into his room. I assumed our cat was causing the red flashes and panicked because I didn't want him to wake up the baby, obviously. So I sprung out of bed, grabbed my phone for a flashlight, and was going to my son's room to get our cat out. But my son's door was completely shut. And to make matters even weirder, my orange cat was asleep on the couch in the living room, and our other cat was asleep in our bed. I have a history of hallucinations when I'm in the middle of sleep cycles, but I never remember anything from those hallucinations. I usually remember saying something weird, but not the details of what I see. But I remember every detail of what has happened in this experience, so it's really hard for me to say it was just me being half asleep seeing things. Hearing the siren and dreaming of the exact episode is what really creeped me out. I then watched my son's monitor for at least 10 minutes longer to make sure he was fine and nothing else weird happened. Thank the Lord. Thank you for reading. See you ghostesses on the other side.
Okay, I don't know why I was just assuming we would get some sort of answer as to what the hell is going on. But no, it's just a very haunted experience in a haunted house over a baby monitor.
But it makes me think,
creepy.
It makes me think that you or some spirit, maybe you astral projected to go help our listener, that the siren sound was like a, hey, wake up. Because if she didn't wake up, she wouldn't have seen that. And maybe her seeing it made the thing go away, or her creeping out towards the bedroom made the thing disappear. And I'm also so curious, what did the 4 little legs look like? Like, was it a thing, like a humanoid, demonoid thing crawling on all 4s? Or was it like a cat? Also, is it recorded?
I was almost picturing like 4 little baby. That's a good point. It might be recorded. Because I was picturing it as like 4, the way that it was in my mind was like if a kid like sits up in their crib and they try to stick their like little baby legs through the railing. I was picturing like 2 pairs of baby legs. That's in my mind what it was. I was like, ghost babies.
But I don't know.
Like, I mean,
a creepy lanky
4 legs.
thing with long legs that's crawling, that's almost like, what's his name in Harry Potter who turned into the werewolf? Lupin, Professor Lupin. Like, you know how his body gets so elongated when he turns into the werewolf, and then his arms and legs are all on the ground at once, but his upper body is so high up? That's what I'm imagining.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, they did say 4 legs. So I don't know why I was trying to autocorrect it to be nicer.
Autocorrect.
Not that it's
your
like
brain.
My brain is like wiping that out and saying 2 pairs of sweet little chubby baby legs. Let's make this a little less terrifying. And you're like, no, I'm pretty sure this is a horrifying creature. Okay, I have another thought. What if this person who wrote us this email, what if there was some sort, what if it wasn't necessarily fully a dream? What if there was some sort of astral projection and time slip? And so they came to us during that episode when I was having the candle situation happen. And they haunted us. And so it was me going like, ah! But like something in the universe made it sound like a siren to them.
That is so cool. And also reassures us about that haunting a little bit. I mean, granted, I think we've overcome said haunting.
We've persevered. We're no longer scared.
Unless it's lurking, waiting for the next time we talk about demons. But yeah, okay, that's really cool. And I love to think that our listeners are the ones haunting us. That is
right. Every time someone dreams about us or like the setting, it's actually them coming and being the ones haunting. Because what is time? It's not linear. You can slip into little wrinkles here and there. Right. So maybe it was all, I mean, it served some sort of purpose, I guess, because they came here, haunted us. Yep. I screamed a siren sound and alerted them to something being in their child's room.
Okay, we help
each other?
Open your mouth like that scary thing, and then can we have Aiden, our editor, put a siren in your mouth and we'll do a hyper zoom on you? Do it real quick.
Yeah. Okay. Should I try to like roll my eyes back or something?
Yeah, do something creepy.
I'll be like, is that creepy?
That was really creepy. Love it.
I don't know why I talked like I had a lisp too. I was like, was that creepy?
I loved it. Can't
the beauty of editing.
The beauty.
All right. This is from our listener, Bex, and it is called Do I Have the Alexa Haunting that Sabrina recently mentioned? Haunted and Obsessed.
Oh.
And so Bex put this in a PDF format, so I'm going to open up the PDF and read it, but had wrote like a little intro into the email so that we knew what it was about.
Okay.
And Bex wrote this right after listening to episode 191, Julia's Possessed.
Oh. Okay.
Very spooky. Okay. So here's what Bex writes. Okay. So first, some logistics to be aware of. Number 1, I have no storage on my phone. Okay, your girl is not good at keeping her iCloud clear. Number 2, I have a limited amount of data, so I normally listen to downloads when not connected to Wi-Fi. Now that that is out of the way, I will try to make this clear and concise. So I'm a low data kind of gal. I learned early on that I could cheat the system by starting a podcast while connected to Wi-Fi or data, and then after a few minutes of play, I can disconnect and still get a good bit of the episode to play internetless. I like this like little cheat.
Yeah.
In case you don't
cheat.
Yeah. I would do this to other pods like Let's Not Meet and National Park After Dark, and usually get a good chunk of free play, maybe 30 minutes on average. And every once in a while, I would get a full podcast to play. Oftentimes, though, the podcast would stop playing only after a few minutes, especially if I didn't play enough of it while I was still connected. However, this is not the case with your podcast. Shout out to Sven, the homie, as it normally plays all the way through, even if I only play the first 30 seconds while connected to the internet.
Yay! Sven, this is a helpful haunt.
Right? I like how some people are like, I can't listen to your podcast because something is like fast forwarding and I'm losing all chunks of your podcast, or like it's blipped off of the internet. And then Bex's experience is like, here's all the content.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yep. Love it.
However, this is not the case with your podcast, as it normally plays all the way through, even if I only play the first 30 seconds while connected to the internet. Furthermore, ever since I started listening, my downloaded playlist have stopped working. Now, remember, I don't have space on my iPhone 8. Yeah, I have a home button. So what? So that could explain it all, right? Maybe. I got to the point where I couldn't play downloads even when I was connected to the internet. Though, I don't know, man. Take it how you want, but I'm pretty sure this is just the triangle making sure that I get lost, which I can't be mad at you. So yeah, you guys are basically all that I've listened to since July.
You knew what you were getting yourself into when you joined the triangle.
I know. Also, I love the Bex wrote the triangle and like made the T capital T and then wrote like TM. Like it's own. I love it.
It's ours.
So good. It's ours. Oh, and you guys are the only thing that I can download, which was nice for my flights. Already, I hope everyone's still with me now, because now that I've laid the foundation down, it's time for the potential connected haunting. One day, 13 days ago, jinkies, I was driving around internetless for my lunch break, and I was actually listening to Ladies and Tangents when y'all were on their show.
Love it.
Right when I got out of the internet zone, the podcast paused, and I thought, of course, this isn't TGOG, but it is Sabrina and Corinne, so what the heck, Sven? Obviously disturbed that my constant stream of your voices was interrupted, I prepared to check my phone and to turn on my data to reload the episode. So to be clear, there was no Wi-Fi connection. The cellular data for Spotify is off, okay? Well, before I could stop and reconnect, a man's voice started coming through my car speakers. Now, I'm not sure how I'm able to keep my composure. I think I was just in awe at the time, but the more I tell the story, the more it freaks me out. I look at my phone, and there's a podcast called what? It was playing on my internetless phone. Like the podcast name is literally called What? Or the episode. The voice was hard to understand, and it gave me the creeps, so I immediately paused it and told myself that it was just Sven being confused as to why I wasn't listening to TGOG. So fast forward a couple weeks until now, and I'm listening to episode 191, Julia's Possessed. 2 Alexa hauntings were very briefly mentioned, one teased by Sabrina for a later episode, in the beginning banter at the top of the show, and I felt my stomach drop. I was immediately reminded of the evening with the weird podcast. After work, I'd done some investigating to figure out this nonsensical podcast that has a name that's truly almost as long as this email. Like, I'll attach a link. After searching a huge chunk of the title, followed by Reddit, call me Sherlock, I found a video of someone's Alexa playing the same episode, presumably unprovoked, just like what had happened to me. Although also presumably while connected to internet, which is unlike me. The audio is very strange. I can only describe it as a dude talking to himself while walking through a city. I absolutely didn't listen to it fully because, duh, but that's the bit that I did listen to, and it sounded like that. The episode names, the descriptions, They vary in lengths of the episodes, and they freaked me out. And then Bex did write down like 5 or 6 examples of the podcast episode names. I'm not going to say them because I don't want any like negative energy to be directed at this other podcast. However, I found them.
Wait,
and
I'm trying to click on the link.
The hyperlink doesn't work.
Oh.
Okay, so I don't want any of the bad negativity to come to that podcast, but I just texted an episode of it to Sabrina. And so she'll listen to a few seconds of it, but I listened to probably like 10 seconds of it, and I couldn't keep listening because it really does feel like something kind of demonic. Like it feels like someone is speaking in tongues, but it's not their language to like a kind higher power. It sounds like it is spreading some sort of like really, really dark message. You can't make out what the words are.
It's also a lot
for the most part.
The titles are like devil, Satan things.
It's very, yeah, and there's only a few episodes too. Like it's not a continuation. It's just like 7 episodes or something were dumped onto the internet a few years ago with just really creepy titles and really strange content to just live there.
It has like no reviews. So the fact that it randomly started playing on Beck's phone.
Right. Which is weird because if you listen to Two Girls, One Ghost, or if you listen to Ladies and Tangents, your phone you might like click on the Discover page and it's like, oh, if you listen to Ladies and Tangents, you might also like.
Yeah.
No, this is not. This ain't similar to anything. This is really freaky.
That's so unsettling.
All right, so Bex rates. Okay, maybe this wasn't as crazy for y'all as it was for me. It was.
It was.
But I would like to know what you think. Was it just a confused and well-meaning triangle ghosty, or is there some sort of omniscient god-like reckoning about to come down on me? I will compile all my little thoughts into another email later on, but I just had to get this bit out first. I fully believe the streaming issues I have is all from the TGOG triangle at work because I've never had such weird occurrences, and well, you just don't listen to the most haunted podcast in America and walk away unhaunted, am I right? Okay, love you, bye. Bex, your vocal fried Callie sister.
Woo! Bex.
Woo!
As we were just talking about vocal fry today.
Yeah.
Okay.
You and Leia, Bex.
Yeah. Vocal fry gals. Bex. This scares me because I totally believe that a lot of the hauntings are Sven related or are friendly podcast ghosts related. But this one feels like there is a dark energy around. And if we believe that this podcast, and I don't want to put that upon someone else, maybe they have perfectly well intentions. Leia's entering frame. It does seem like if this podcast is trying to summon something, that there was a dark entity that wanted to play that to fully summon it.
It's like the black tapes. But in real life, are we living it?
I'm glad Bex stopped it. Didn't listen to the whole thing.
Yes. Right. But let's also point out that Bex's investigating, found someone else on the internet who had also had the same thing happen, where this podcast just started playing totally randomly through their speakers. So we might take the blame for some of the hauntings here. Our podcast might be very haunted, but our hauntings, for the most part, are kind and gentle and just a part of the pyramid scheme.
Kind of, but yes. Half and half.
It's a half and half. Yeah. This one just feels like it's truly trying to like open up some sort of satanic portal and get these people sucked into it.
Well, Bex,
very creepy.
Let us know if anything else happens. Is there a way to like block podcasts so that it never plays?
Sure. I'm sure. I block people,
I meant
celebrities that you're just like, ugh.
I mean specifically on like apps so that it never plays on your phone.
but not ours.
Not ours.
You know what? I do not see that. You can report a concern, but I'm not sure that my concern will be anything.
I'm concerned.
I'm for sure gonna
summoning demons.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna Google this person. I'm gonna give him a Goog after this.
Okay. I'll do. I know I saw that too. And I was gonna do the same. We'll do our sleuthing.
We will.
Before that, I have a story from our listener Alexandria.
Okay.
And it is called "Your Podcast Haunted My Bedroom?" ? I have been listening since 2018, and I know that y'all talk about spooky things happening to your listeners while listening to your podcast. However, I did not think I would ever have this occurrence happen to me. But after listening to your recent podcast 192, Nuns Are Possessed, I think my husband and I both had an experience. I usually like to listen at night as I'm falling asleep because I find your voices soothing. And Sabrina said she was going to mention demon names, but would try not to repeat them too often. I had a gut feeling right then that I needed to turn the podcast off and finish during daylight hours. So the next day I finished the podcast during daylight, and a little after I finished, I laid my 3-month-old asleep and quickly cuddled in my blanket. I had been asleep for maybe an hour when I awoke to what I thought was my dog laying on my blanket, hanging off the bed onto the floor. And I have a large dog, around 60 pounds. But then I started to feel the blanket being pulled tight against my back, as if my dog was pulling on the slack of my blanket. It woke me up. I was irritated and pulled the blanket back towards me when I felt it happen again. So I raised up out of bed to look beside the bed, but the dog wasn't even in the room. The blanket was actually tucked in under me and not even draping onto the floor. I'm 100% sure at this point I was fully awake and I could feel the pressure of the blanket being pulled tight against my skin.
Oh.
Needless to say, I was way too freaked out to fall back asleep after that. That same week, my husband sprung up out of bed around 2 a.m., stating that he felt the blanket being raised up. He does have night terrors and sleep paralysis often, so I don't know if this was just a coincidence or not, but it doesn't make me feel any better that y'all seem to have some events happening to you all after the podcast. This is my first time emailing, and I didn't think it would be my first email, considering I have a lot of stories to share, which I haven't gotten around to sending, but I will get to it. I love you guys. You're the first podcast I started listening to, and I am still hooked. I'm from Texas, if you didn't figure that out with all my y'alls. Meet y'all on the other side, but hopefully sooner. Alexandria.
Could it be that there is another spirit who also listened to that episode and was like, you know what? I'm a little scared. I'd like to get under these blankets. I think I need to snuggle up because I don't want to sleep alone tonight.
It does kind of feel like it was trying to pull it off of Alexandria, though. And same with Alexandria's husband.
Ew. Oh, I'm picturing like a claw coming up from underneath the bed and just pulling it, grabbing it, yanking it. It's so...
Like, what are you up to, spirits?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your
And
problems.
obviously some serious force if they're like, oh, it must be our 60-pound dog doing this. The presence, whatever was felt in the room was like big enough and strong enough that a 60-pound dog was capable of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with Leia. Like, I often look at her and I just want to know what she's thinking. And that's how I feel about spirits. It's like, I just want to know what you're thinking and what you want and why you're doing the things that you are doing. And let's just have a conversation, you know? Let's talk it through.
Yeah. That just made me have a thought. You know how there are psychics and mediums who specifically speak to animals and to your living animals and basically communicate with your animals to give you messages and to help your communication channels open up. I'm curious if there are any animal communicators and mediums who've made contact with animals and specifically heard about the ghosts that live in the animal's home.
Oh, that's cool.
because most people that reach out to animal communicators, I'm sure, are trying to either contact, like if I did it, I'd be like, oh, I want to hear Wrinkles. I want to like talk to Wrinkles and see how he's doing. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, I want to know if my elderly dog is comfortable, or how my new cat is enjoying life now that there's a young baby in the home, like, you know, stuff like that. And it's always about like us now in present time. But I'm curious what they have to say about others, like not about us. What else is here? Who else do you know? How many people do you think that you live with?
Interesting. Yeah. Do pets sometimes mistake ghosts as other humans?
Right? I feel like it would also be probably very confusing for an animal if another one of their like animal siblings or one of their human family members pass away, and maybe their spirit is sometimes present in the home. Do they know the difference? I'm sure that they do.
That's kind of sad, but also sweet.
I have questions.
It's like how our pets haunt us after they pass away, but their owners haunt them. That's a nice thought. That's a nice way to end this episode, rather than focusing on the horrifying things that have happened to all of you.
We'll end it there.
But
So if
there's
you've
so many more of these stories, so more to come.
Right. Yeah. If anything's happened to you while listening to the podcast, we definitely want to hear it. Make that subject line clear so that we can snag it for a future read. But then literally anything. If you've have a wonderful experience with a pet, with a loved one, with a friend, if you have a haunted house, if you have a boogeyman living in your closet, if you've seen weird glimpses of the future, of the past, we want to hear about it.
You've been abducted, anything. Yes.
Anything. Email us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com.
Well, I just bit my hand.
And
to anyone who saw my...
She is like... She's the Sour Patch commercial. First she's sweet, then she's sour, or first she's sour, then she's sweet. That is Leia. 'Cause she'll snuggle with you and be all like good and cuddly, then she'll give you a stare down, then she'll snuggle with you, and then she'll bite you.
To be fair, I was doing like this like repetitive motion to her chest, and I knew I was aggravating her. I knew what I was doing.
Oh yeah. Sensory issues. No, thank you.
Ow, Leia. Okay, stop. Anyway, there's many ways to support us. I just took my
put your hands, protect them. Take your arms and put them through the sleeves.
I just gave her my sleeve.
Oh my God.
Oh man. You can join us on Patreon. You can follow us on social media. You can buy merch. Reminder, which Corinne brought up in a previous episode, if you want merch for the holidays, for your friends, for your family, for yourself, make sure you order it by December 1st so you get it in time. And if not, I don't know, print out a picture and be like, it's coming.
It's coming.
Join our Patreon by the end of November if you want to get our Christmas holiday card and some bonus episodes during the holidays. It will be great.
It will be fantastic. Rate and review us. Tell your friends. Join the pyramid scheme. All of the above. We're on social media. But we're just really happy that you're here with us. Whether you're listening to the audio version or to the YouTube version, we're so grateful to have you in our Phantom podcast community. And also, thank you to our editors.
All you.
And thank you to our editors, Aiden Manning, and the whole team at Upfire Digital for helping us dramatically.
Yes. Thank you.
And we will see you on the other side.